Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2022. We're on episode number 11, and we are ready to tip off with season number 2. We're going to get right into our first game against my alma mater at Mac Court against the Oregon Ducks. We are facing a very different situation this season, though. We have a much shorter season because we are independent. We do not have a conference. So we have a few extra non-conference games compared to the normal team. But we lose the entire non-conference schedule. And so we're left with a total of just 16 games this season. It's going to go by pretty quickly. Meanwhile, on the recruiting front, I had one player that was already scouting through, and we knew a fair bit about them, what their interests were. The second one, who was cool on us, I took a few weeks, but I was able to get in there and get 3 successes with that individual, learning plenty about them. And then I turned my focus onto the guy who has our 3rd scholarship, who is nowhere on our radar. Or at least we're nowhere on his radar. And I've spent the last 3 to 4 weeks talking to him, just trying to get him to give us the time of day. And at this point, we're still nowhere on that. But there's plenty of time to go. And I'm going to just keep plugging away at calling this guy and pestering him to give us 5 minutes of his time. And one of these days, he might just say yes, which would instantly put us from nowhere to cool. And that's my target for that player and for the months to come. So I'll be keeping on with that. You won't see any further updates unless players randomly start signing with teams, or giving their verbals, that is, or I finally find some success with that. But meanwhile, let's focus on what is going to be a very quick season with just 16 games to play. Remember, 4 out of the 6 independents are going to be promoted. All we have to do is finish better than 2 of them. And we were better than 3 of the teams that are now independents last season. But it's definitely not the same team this year, as we did lose some seniors or transfers. Oregon Ducks, probably the highest ranked team we're going to face this season. They are Conference D, so 4th tier out of the 22, meaning they are pretty effing good. So this one's probably going to be a blowout, and especially on the road. But we'll get through it anyway, and we'll pick up, somewhere in, I think, December for the one following that. So we haven't even tipped off yet, and Oregon already has momentum. I think that momentum would simply be the advantage that they are carrying in quality compared to us. It's the only thing that makes sense. But let's go ahead and get to it. Let's give it a shot. See what we can do. Oregon does strike first with the first score of the game, but we work the ball well inside, get the offensive rebound, get a second chance at it here, and then eventually turn it over. We have forced a couple turnovers so far. We'll work the ball well inside, beat the first man, but straight to the second man who forced the miss. Get a rebound on that one. And I'm almost encouraged by the fact that we've held them to just a 2-point lead here through the first 3 minutes. We have yet to score, though. That part's a little worrying. And we're on the scoreboard. It's 2-2. The first score of the season going to O'Neal, one of our transfers in this year. Of course, it looks like for this first couple of seasons anyway, based on how difficult recruiting is for our caliber of coach, we're going to be relying very heavily on the transfer market. But we actually have an early lead in this one. It might be the only lead we see, but at least we have that for now. It's 8-4. Hollis with his first couple of points. McIntyre, the returning now veteran sophomore center, with 4 points and 3 boards already on 2 of 2 shooting. Hollis is the one I really think we want to look out for this season, as I suspect he's going to be kind of the standout performer. But you never know, right? You never know. Bench getting their first chance But the starters with a fantastic start to this one, as it is 10-6. Oregon really not playing well in any way, shape, or form, but they do get that one, missing close range, but getting the offensive rebound and immediate putback from the center who took the attempt in the first place. But nice fast break transition bucket there, and it's 12-8. Free throws on that, and score is level, but I'm impressed that we've held on for 12 minutes here until Oregon just made that three, and they are definitely on a run at the moment. If we're going to have any chance in this game, I think I'm going to need to take a 30-second timeout. And straight out of the timeout, we immediately took a shot and made a three. So after going scoreless for a good long while there, we've had possessions with back-to-back three-pointers, or maybe it was 3 possessions to get those 2 3-pointers, whichever it was. We have gotten ourselves back into this game. It was a well-timed timeout to get that momentum that they had built up and decrease it. I mean, they're always carrying some momentum in this game, but hanging in there. I mean, it's almost halftime, and we're only down by 5. We are in the bonus, or they are in the bonus, by the way, as we sit on 9 team fouls, so our next one will put them in the double bonus. But we made it 16 minutes, and I did back off on the defensive intensity late last season just a little bit until I can actually get some better defenders recruited, and that's a real issue for us. Weak players pressing leads to a lot of fouls. But a 2-point game with just 2 minutes to go in the half, I'm crazy impressed by how well we have done. And as predicted, it is becoming the JoJo Hollis show. 11 points for him. Only 1 assist, though. But he's got a rebound. He's got a steal. He's 4 of 8 on the shooting. Great recruitment on that transfer. The other transfers that we brought in were more of the let's get who we can get. And Hollis was the only targeted transfer that I went after. So I'm really, as it's halftime and just a 3-point game. What a half. What a half. McIntyre has 6. Lawrence has 4. So our 2 returning veteran players. And Wallace. That's not my starting lineup, is it? Oh, maybe it is. Maybe Lawrence is the other transfer. Lawrence, Hollis, O'Neal, and Moore. Is that right? Just -2 on the points in the paint, equal on second chance and fast break points. Yeah, I'm quite happy with how that first half went. All of their starters in single digits in scoring, and just a player off the bench with 11 who's 3 for 3 from 3 and made both of his free throws, so he's perfect from the field. That's dangerous for us. But Hollis, 2 of 6 beyond the arc, and that's most of his misses. He's only missed 1 field goal from inside the 3-point line. Foul trouble, not too bad, though. Singletary has 3. Fouls are something we just have to watch out for, as we just don't have the quality. All right, second half underway. We begin with the possession here, and we make that field goal to cut the lead to 1 and immediately commit our first foul of the half on our first defensive possession. That's worrying. Rebound on that. Oh, had the ball worked inside nicely there, but we set up for 1 right at the free throw line, but it's well defended. Not a clear look. Long range 3, but we get the offensive rebound and the putback, and it's tied. Who would have thought we would have been tied at this point against a team significantly better than we are? And, I've got 3 guys with key minutes in this one that are all transfers and knew certain aspects of the offense or the defense, but certainly not all of it. They've had some practice. They've had a month of practice. They have made progress learning the schemes that they didn't know individually coming in. Turnover there. Nice turnover that way. The ball fed inside, but positioning was right, and we are able to intercept that pass. Quick drive and pull up for the long range too, and we drew level and we scored. We've got the lead with 14 to play. I'm just surprised by how well we have played. Looking at the team stats for a moment: -2 on the assists, +3 on the offensive rebounds, equal on the total rebounds. Blocks minus a couple, but we have a couple extra steals compared to them, and just 5 turnovers. Hollis is going to be the main guy with that, right? He's picking up the bulk of the minutes. He's going to carry the ball a lot of the time, and Hollis has been an excellent pickup for us. I think there's, based on the sample size of 3/4 of one game, not even quite 3/4, but against the best team we're going to play this season, even if we lose this thing, and odds are we will, right? As we go down the stretch, they're going to have the advantage. But even if we lose this thing, Hollis is the real deal. Hollis has 18. He's got a few rebounds. He's taking the right shots. He's making the right plays. And while our turnovers have climbed a bit from where they were a few minutes ago, it's now 9, we have fewer turnovers than a team that is significantly better than we are. And while we're only shooting 39% from the field, we have a 2-point lead on 39% shooting. We've only been to the free throw line 8 times. They've been to the free throw line 15. Now, helping us to stay in the game, they're not shooting well from the stripe. So that's part of it. But we're only 4 of 23 from 3, and yet we have a 5-point lead. So nothing in this game suggests we should be ahead. But our rebounding is level. We are turning the ball over less thanks to Hollis, and Hollis with 24 points. While far from perfect, Hollis is a standout. We did not have a standout player. We had performance through the collective unit last season. Over and over again, we had 3, 4, 5 players with 10 to 16 points a night. It was balanced scoring, which is good, right? If you have one guy shut down, you have one good player, and the other team can defend them well and shut them down, you're going to be in trouble. So it's good to have different scoring options. But it's also a problem when you don't have a go-to person and the other team is shutting down your collective unit. You can't put the ball in the hands of one player. I was just watching the national championship last night for the women's, and South Carolina very much had the strong team thing, but they had a huge size advantage, so they were just grabbing a ton of rebounds. But Paige Beckers, best player in the country, point guard for UConn, she is fantastic. And that first quarter, South Carolina, as soon as she would pass the ball off, they'd get it out of her. We've won, folks. It's 72-63 final. We pulled away there in the last minutes. Hollis staying on 24 points, not scoring down the stretch. But we've done it. We've pulled off a massive, massive upset to open the season. This is the program's biggest win in its history, and it's just our first game of our second season, and our first time with any players that are our own. Now that I know I can get a Hollis type through the transfer market, even though we are terrible at recruiting at the moment, I have to keep plugging away on that because we need to get better to eventually recruit good players. But B, I know if I could get a targeted Hollis type on that transfer market, that I have to be more aggressive about it. There are players that want playing time that enter the transfer portal. And while they might have, let's say, a less than ideal demeanor, players that are transferring out of schools are giving up, are quitting. They want something. And they're very selfish about those decisions. But still, bringing in a player like Hollis has been a huge coup for this team. He is making a real difference in a 1-game sample size, that is, but still, if we can replicate this even just a handful of times throughout this season, we are bound to be better than 2 teams. We are bound to be in a position where we could regain a Conference V position come next season. That's a good start. Back to the Paige Beckers thing. First quarter, South Carolina, the moment Beckers would initiate the offense and pass to a teammate, they stuck to her like glue. They not quite, but almost double teamed her off the ball. They constantly had one player stuck to her like glue, marking her very, very tight wherever she was on the court. But they would constantly have a partial zone to what they were doing with the other 4 defenders, to where all 4 defenders were constantly aware, unless they were busy on the ball, the other 3 anyway. The other 3 defenders were constantly aware where Beckers was. And they would cheat over half a step or a step all the time to do the, hey, we got our eye on you, we're watching, we know what you're up to, and instantly close out if the ball tried to come back into her. So UConn just could not get the ball back to Beckers. So second quarter, she just kept the ball. She just did not distribute the ball. She just ran around like a chicken with her head cut off, dribbling and then ultimately creating for herself. And that got them back into the game. Unfortunately, I think a huge mistake by UConn was that when they came out in the third quarter, they killed all the momentum they had by going back to the original game plan. And then the third quarter, it was almost 10 minutes before they even scored. Well, no, I think it was about 6 minutes before they scored their first bucket of the third quarter. But all that momentum that they had built up approaching the end of the first half was gone. They eventually got back to it. They eventually worked their way back into the game, but they never got back to quite the manageable score. South Carolina ended up winning by shutting down that one star player for most of the game. And the thing that worked for UConn, they didn't stick to it. They went back to the original game plan, which just wasn't working. South Carolina had an answer for it, and ultimately they ended up winning the title as a result. So you see the example of how either version could work, scoring by committee or scoring through the individual. In this case, a good defense shut down the individual, and the team with the individual score lost. So yes, we're going to take some losses with Hollis when there's a good defender on him. He's probably not that great. But today, anyway, he certainly was, and it carried us through. Besides the ability of Hollis to score 24 points on the day, that was huge for us. Right? That's a third of our points for the entire game from one player. So yes, hugely important. But I told you there was one other thing that was hugely important, and that was less turnovers, protecting the ball. Dyer, off the bench, 10 minutes. That's a quarter of the game that he played in place of Hollis. Just one turnover for him, and he was on a +5 during that stretch. So we outscored Oregon during that stretch. So that was huge. Just one turnover in 10 minutes. Hollis, 31 minutes, 0 turnovers. Nada. Nothing. Zilch. That is what won us the game. Yes, his scoring was massive, but he was 5 of 14 from 3, so we know where and what he's going to do with it. O'Neal over 5 from 3. That hurt. We were 8 from 30. We shot a little bit better in the second half than we did in the first, because I think we were down at about 18-19%. Overall, our shooting wasn't great. We barely got to the free throw line. We had 2 free throws in the second half. what got us over the top was battling equally in the rebounds department, them not shooting well either, even though they went to the free throw line nearly twice as much as we did. But the biggest thing of all was the turnovers, 11 to 16. I think that is massively underrated here, that is going to be the biggest thing. If Hollis continues to play excellent in terms of he's going to provide us with a high amount of scoring, 20 points a night, and if he continues to protect the ball and get us in a position to see out possessions. Moore played 16 minutes, had 4 turnovers. That's not good. He scored 8 points for us. That helps make up for it. But there's a reason why Moore was on the bench. There's a reason why JoJo Hollis was player of the game here. For me, the turnovers is almost as big, if not bigger, than the points. And only 1 foul, too. 31 minutes, and he's defending on the ball, which I'll tell you now, referees are going to call more on-ball fouls than off-ball fouls. Not necessarily that there's more on-ball fouls committed, but 2 players battling for position off the ball rarely gets called as a foul, even when it's down in the post and they are shoving the crap out of each other and fighting for who's got the inside-outside position, who's in the offensive player positioning themselves to receive the ball to post up, or the defensive player positioning themselves to box out and rebound when a shot does go up. You see constant fighting there. And yes, we see fouls called on that, but much less frequent than what happens on the ball. On top, point guard makes a little juke move, and a defender taps their arm. We see that called a foul all the time. So to see him play 31, defend on the ball, only commit 1 foul, and no turnovers. Sorry, I am rambling on and on here. I'm trying to express how impressed I am by Hollis in that game. Let's move forward. My assistant coach has worked a little bit of magic and made some progress with Jermaine Babel. Now, this is the guy who is the last recruit. This is not a big-time recruit. This is not somebody who's going to provide us with quality playing time. However, recruiting is important. He apparently can play some defense. He's just never going to be a scorer. But I will take a defender who can't score. I'm okay with that because he'll come on to the court when he needs to, off the bench, and provide us with some quality defense and stop the other team from scoring. And he can pass the ball decently well. He can ball handle at least decently well to where he can dish the ball to somebody else. He can set screens, especially as a small forward. That's a good thing. That is a good thing if he can set some screens and keep the ball moving. And he's not a terrible outside shooter, so he could catch and shoot. He cares about location, and my assistant coach has warmed him up. He has gone from cool to warm, and it looks like we are 3rd on his list. Let's keep pushing. Let's keep working. I'm excited that we are actually making progress somewhere, somehow. This is my life for recruiting right now. McInnes, the other guy we have scholarship offer on, he is not interested. He doesn't want to waste time, but I keep asking him to give me 5 minutes, and I will continue to do so until he actually agrees to give me 5 minutes. And we're going to pick up with the halfway point of the season. Let's get the game underway. I changed some stuff with the jerseys so you could see the numbers, but it hasn't changed them. It's maybe the jerseys themselves. I don't know. I'll go back in and change that, or try to change that later. But anyway, This game underway, and we are first ones out of the blocks with McIntyre scoring. McIntyre's getting almost 10 points a game, right at 9.9. Wallace is getting 9 points a game, so our post players are contributing a fair bit of our points this season, helping take some of the load away from Hollis, who is our top scorer at about 13.5 points a game, but he's definitely not replicating the performance he had at the start of the year. Now, I am a little shorthanded on players today. I've had 2 incidents in just under a week, or just over a week, between the same 2 players. I talked to them after the first incident, gave them warning. One responded fairly well, one absolutely did not. And then they had a second incident, and I talked to the first player again, this time with a negative response. So I said, you know what, screw it, I'm suspending you for a week. That one he responded well to. I talked to the second player again, who yet again had a wah 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 kind of approach to that one, and so I suspended him for a week likewise, and he very much did not respond well to it. Now, the 2 players in question, one, the power forward backup of Singletary, pretty decent, but he's sitting behind a fairly quality player in Wallace. And the other one, our small forward backup, who is, well, the weakest of our 5 backups who see regular time, and that is the walk-on Ramash. Now, with those 2 guys absent, I had to rework the depth chart for this game, giving more time to Moore and Lawrence in particular to make up the difference. I have one of our starters in O'Neill picking up an extra 4 minutes or so. We'll see how that impacts the game. Now, what we have today, as we are already halfway through the first half, so about a quarter played, 3-pointer there closes the gap, but we had a nice healthy 8-point lead until a moment ago. Now it's within 5, and they've got a chance to maybe cut it within a possession, and they do with a big 3-pointer there. And just like that, we've got ourselves a game. Quick turnover and score, though, prevents me from the inevitable timeout, but they score yet again. So they have definitely picked up some momentum, but in this case, it's technically momentum none. But I don't know about that, considering they have scored quite a few points in just the last handful of possessions. A little worried about how easy that all came together. Fouls, not an issue so far today. That's good. We'll keep an eye on how things are doing. O'Neill seems to be benefiting from his extra time. Wallace is having a big day so far with 5 rebounds and 4 blocks already. Longwood's a big test for us for a couple of reasons. One, Longwood is Conference V, as in, the conference we were in last year that we're looking to get back to next season. So it'll be nice to see how we fare against them this year. We already know how we fared against them last year. Not quite good enough, but not that far off, right? We were right there. Same record as a team that made the conference playoffs and was not relegated, but they got the tiebreak. That close, right? But we were definitely not good enough. I mean, we were 6-10 in conference. We weren't great. Can we be? We're at home, right? We should be favored. We should come away with a win. What can we do? So far in the season, though, we've actually done really quite well for ourselves. We have more away games early in the year than we do later in the year, and yet we are 4-3 at the moment as we hit what will be our halfway stage here. We're about to enter halftime. We've got a chance to wide open from the block. How do you miss that? How do you miss from that close? Wide open. That's painful. That is painful. 33% shooting. They're at 44. We've been to the free throw line 16 times, which is more than we normally get in a game. So this is a Longwood team that maybe they're trying to press a bit on defense as well and committing way too many fouls. Yeah, Look at that. Two starters already in foul trouble. A third one that's not in great shape. 9 fouls for them to our 3 so far. Pretty impressed by that. Second time here looking at Hollis playing. 15 minutes. Not good shooting performance from him so far today. And so for that, he's only got 4 points. But 1 foul, no turnovers. He's keeping up that important aspect. More, though, clearly is our guy who commits way too many turnovers. We'll need to try to address that to get him to not cough the ball up so much. He's costing us a lot. Second half underway. Already first foul, dead ball situation. Ball out on the side, and then eventually we do get the steal. But then we give it right back. I didn't see what it was called, but we committed some sort of turnover that was dead ball out of bounds. I'm assuming it was a travel or a 3 in the key, something along those lines. And we suddenly find ourselves down by 4. We do finally get some scoring going here in the second half. Took us a few minutes to get our first score. I hate having to use a timeout just as you're coming out of a long break. It's really harsh to have to use a timeout in that situation when you only get so many to deal with. But we have weathered the storm. We are into this second half, and we are starting to pick up a little bit of momentum. What can we do with it here? Nice job working the ball down inside. We have ourselves a 2-point game. Oh, had the man open on. Okay, that's fine. We scored. Not the best shot selection on that, as we've had some open guys in key positions and we're just not getting the ball to them. This zone defense, fine. Oh, again. We feed the ball to the right man on the low block, wide open, and instead of taking the shot, he passes to his guarded teammate from close range. But we have a lot of momentum at the moment, but a big 3-pointer from them helps turn the tide and gets them back within 2. Important free throws there, but we only convert 1 out of the 2. And with that score, we have a 1-point game. So just as we build the momentum, they're making important key shots. If this is what I was talking about, though, if Hollis struggles, we struggle. We should be comfortably ahead from the look of this game. But they've had some important, timely 3-pointers that have helped keep them in this game, and Hollis is 1 from 8 for the field. He is really struggling. Lawrence, McIntyre, both struggling as well. So Wallace has really created the bulk of our scoring, and O'Neal, who isn't much of a scorer, has done well, but he's just not taking that many shots because it's not in his nature. He's on the court as somebody who helps facilitate the offense, not necessarily create the scoring. Hollis does finally get another score, though. Now 2 of 9 from the field. Nice drive there. Nice conversion, and that's 3 of 10 from Hollis now. And he's finally got himself a little individual, personal momentum. 5 minutes to play. Now we can start thinking about those timeouts. We have a 5-point lead. They just picked up a little momentum, but I think we knocked that one out. No, they still have that momentum. We're taking it away now, though, with back-to-back possessions with points. And we give that away. McIntyre was looking for a foul. Doesn't get it. Nice drive. Nice conversion. And it's 69-61. Starting to stretch the lead a little bit here with 3.5 to play. They had momentum. We took it away, and easy one there. Nice ball inside, and it's 71-66. Rebounding, -6. 11 steals, though, have them all the way up at 20 turnovers to our 12. That is a real advantage for us because they are shooting much better than we are on the same number of attempts. But for once, we are on the opposite side. Oh, gosh. You miss a dunk or layup wide open. We've got to stop missing those. Hello, there's 10 seconds left in this game. Timeout. That's game. They missed. Okay, I was thinking there was still going to be a few seconds on the clock because they were going to try to take a quick shot, but they didn't. They had 10 seconds to get that last shot in, and they missed it. We grabbed the rebound, and that was the game. We caught the ball off the missed shot, and time was already up. We do come away with the win and a less than stellar performance from, well, 3 starters, Hollis, Lawrence, and Holcomb. No, that was not a starter. He was great off the bench, but McIntyre, Lawrence, and Hollis all struggled in shooting in this one. But Wallace, with 7 rebounds, including the final, 14 points to lead, equal on scorers, who caught up a little bit in the rebounding down the stretch. Turnovers did not change. Poor day shooting, really poor day shooting, but the free throws helped carry us through, committing less fouls than our opponent helped carry us through. Hollis, even though he wasn't scoring, he did his part in other ways, and he kept us in the game, and it was just enough. 75-73. We are 5-3. We're gonna take one quick look at something as we have just another half to go. Points in the paint was an advantage. Second chance points was an advantage. Fast break points was an advantage. Hollis with just 1 turnover on the day. Moore, he's the one who's got to protect that ball a little bit better. All right, halfway stage, no conference games, so this is entirely down to the non-conference schedule. As in your overall record, and we are first place at the moment out of 6, but we're only 2 games up. We're only 2 games up on the drop, so it's not like we're comfortable. But at 5-3, Central Arkansas at 4-3, we're the only teams above 500. North Andover is struggling at 2-5. If we can get one more to fall off the pace, Mississippi Valley State or Stevensville, between them, if they continue to struggle, then we're good. We're through and would be back up to Conference V. I'm happy with the first half of the season so far. I thought we had played more on the road than we had. No, that's not the case. 4-1 at home, 1-2 on the road. So that means we are going to have some more road games down the stretch where we're not so good, but we have gotten 1 win on the road at the least. So I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged by the first half of the season. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.